Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Collier, and I am the host of Conquer with Chris, the podcast for Kingdom Business. Listen, I have Cheryl on today. Cheryl, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. A pleasure to be here.
Well, just let's get right into it. How did you get started on this entrepreneurial journey?
Well, it's nothing exciting, nothing fancy. I literally had done a stint in corporate America. After spending a number of years traveling, I decided it would be nice to spend time in my own bed, driving my own car. And so I got into the teaching realm, and I was really enjoying teaching until that kind of changed the dynamics. The movement was more towards politics and test results and scores and less focused on children. And so I decided it was time to make a change. And so I actually am grateful that someone shared some business services with me that I was able to then make into a career. And so I now help support small business owners, whether you're a micro business, a mompreneur, a small business owner. I love working with women business owners, but don't get me wrong, I support the men too. But it's nice to be able to be a resource, to be able to help people find out kind of what some of their challenges and needs are, and see whether or not what I have might be a fit for them. I should also mention along the way, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely love that gig. But at some point, I realized that I needed my own identity. And so that's where I stepped back in. And through all that time, I realized that, being an entrepreneur allowed me the opportunity to be able to be in control of my schedule, my time. I didn't have to build somebody else's future or dream. I was able to really work around my faith and my family, and those are really important to me. And so now what I get to do is build a legacy and help create family memories. So I enjoy traveling. I enjoy spending time with family. As a matter of fact, I'm here helping my daughter who has let's see, I guess she's 12 days old today, new granddaughter. So that's really exciting. I am leaving to go back home today, so I feel kind of mixed. I'll be grateful to get some sleep in my own bed again, but I'll miss the little darlings. So anyways, that's kind of my journey, and what brought me today to really just helping people. That's what I really enjoy. I grew up serving. My father was a deacon in the church, and we grew up practicing, faith was a big part of what we did, and going to Christian schools and really learning the golden rule, and not just learning, but practicing. And so in everything that I've done, I serve. I actually currently sit on the board of a couple of nonprofits, and helping just support others and give back to others. And so, yeah, that's kind of who I am.
I want to touch on something you said. I think that's um, a miss a missed thing in culture today is service, right? Service is huge. People think I was at a restaurant and they said, "Don't call me a server. I don't like that word." I said, "But that's what you do. You serve food." And they said, "I don't like that." I'm like, "Okay, all right." And I finally let them just say what they wanted. But I think it's interesting because like the greatest always serve. The greatest, it's scripture, as a matter of fact. The greatest among you is the one who serves the most. So how do you incorporate that into business and stay attached to the input but not the outcome? So that way you're making money, but that's not the goal. The goal is to serve, right?
Absolutely. Well, I wake up every morning being grateful and asking the Lord to help me in what I do that day in terms of connecting with people or talking to people. When I love networking, and so I belong to a chamber, I belong to a couple of organizations, and so really it's about meeting people where they're at. So whether I've met someone from online or whether it's in person, I definitely just start a conversation. I try to make a friend. I find something that there's maybe a commonality, and then I try to draw into that a little bit more. What's going on? You know, Chris, everybody has a story. And so whether they've started a business, they have a passion, whatever is going on, there's some story. And so I try to dig into that a little deeper. I ask questions, I listen, and I also then take a look at what's going on. And hopefully, with some of the business services that I help them with, could be a fit, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a timing issue. But if not, I'm also a really good connector because I have a lot of other resources besides ones that I help provide. And so I hopefully can find them a fit for a need that they have going on. And if not, you know what? At least I've made a friend.
That's always great, because too much of business today is, if I can't help you, I don't know. And too much of business today is, if it doesn't help me, I can't help you. I've found a lot of great people though, going against that grain. And it's good to see those people like yourself, that really practice the art of serving, getting to know people, making friends, finding the story that they're living, they're telling in their life. How would you, if you met someone today and you're making friends with them, how would you tell them to get started if they wanted to get started in something similar or maybe a little bit different than you? They just want to work for themselves. How would you frame that for them, and how would you get them to share their story with you so you could better assist them?
Sure. No, that's a great question. I start out by asking them a little bit about their family. If they, tell me a little bit about you. Do you have a family? Do you have friends? What are some of your hobbies? What are some of your interests? Because what I might have to offer them as an opportunity might not be something along the lines of what they're looking for, but the concept might be something where I can help guide them to something else that is a better fit. I think these days with the turmoil that has kind of happened with the whole pandemic and people being laid off with inflation, I think there's a lot of people that are struggling. They're challenged with how to make ends meet, and they're having to make some tough choices. And honestly, if they could make a little extra money with a side gig, side hustle, whatever that might look like for them, is a really good discussion to have. And who knows where that might eventually end up leading. Uh, when you think about life, a lot of people hold different jobs, right? Why can't they then find a side hustle through a couple different opportunities to find the right fit for them? So it's in asking questions, what are some of their interests? What's their background? What do they enjoy doing? Are they open to looking at something where they could be their own boss? They could start up their own business, because not everyone is meant to run their own business. Some people are really, really good employees, and there's certainly a lot of uh, businesses out there where we need employees to be, as you said, the waiter, the waitress, the server, whatever they'd like to call themselves, right? Or the mechanics, whatever that might be, right? So some people are very, very happy being the employee. They don't always have to be the employer. And
Yeah,
on that note, you could be a solopreneur and don't have to have employees.
that's all.
So, now stepping into entrepreneurship, it's not easy. It's simple to do, but it's not easy. And there's definitely a lot of challenges, but I think it's important to do research and follow something that you have an interest in. And that is something that when my daughters were going through school, I always just kept asking them, well, what interests you? I don't know what major I want to be. I don't know what I want to study. I don't know what job I want. Find something that interests you, because there's nothing worse than doing something that you don't like.
Oh man, you're preaching now.
And honestly, the world is changing every single day, whether it's technology, whether it's AI, whatever it might be. And so there's so many opportunities to develop and grow you and what you'd like to do. And if something isn't a fit, then change. Sometimes things change for you. and you have to, go along with moving that cheese. So it's, it is very interesting. Again, I let that conversation flow, and then ask them if they're open to looking at what I do, because that's something that could, be of interest to them. And again, having resources, if it's not my company, then it might be something else along a different path that might be a good fit for them.
Gotcha. Sounds great. That's great. Great way to attack it or deal with it, address it. That's wonderful. So what is your end, like, if you could put together your end game, not like fun, not talking finality here. I'm just about like, if you're at the highest level of what you think service is for yourself, what does that look like, and how are you impacting people now?
Well, that's a great question. I feel like I'm always evolving. With the services that I provide, I work with a company called Legal Shield. So I offer legal services to individuals. It's what I first was introduced to, but then I really saw because my husband works a lot with small businesses, I saw the need for them, whether you're a micro or a small business owner, having that support, that guidance to understand exactly what to do and how to do. And I think all of us deal with a lot of different decisions on a daily basis. Many are legal in nature. So having that as a cost-effective resource to be able to have a go-to, when you have a question, care, concern, I'm all about being proactive and not reactive. And so that's what that allows us to do. What that evolved into was then offering that as a benefit to employers, because employers are looking, especially these days, for ways to not only attract new employees, but keep the ones that they have already. And so partnering with people in that space to be able to help grow how they can help people as well. So it's serving more and helping more, but bringing on people that are interested in that aspect to be able to then serve more people. I know that every day I can make a difference by what I do. I also offer health insurance. Let's face it, insurance companies are expensive. I try to find cost-effective ways. At the end of the day, I tell them, I don't make the rates, I don't make the rules, but I can try to find you the best deal I can. And so it's really helping grow. This past year, I actually brought on an employee, so I entered into that realm, and I'm looking to help grow my businesses by adding more people. The health insurance is something that is state specific to where I live, but with the Legal Shield and the other business services, my core market share, a few other of the companies that I partner with, they are nationwide. So it's an opportunity if someone's looking for just a way to help serve and help people. If you don't like helping people, it's probably not a good fit. But my end goal is to be able to, I'm building a leveraged based company that allows me more freedom, and so that I can give back more. I want to be able to give back to more charities and more organizations and more nonprofits that actually need that assistance and guidance. And so that's kind of my end game. Traveling, my goal is to travel to one new country every year. And I think, while we're talking about business and some of those goals, I think it's also important I try to maintain a healthy lifestyle, because you either spend your money now and your health is at risk, or you're going to spend your money later on paying for the health that you didn't look after. So I think it's really important to, look after our spiritual self, our health and while we're gaining that wealth, and what else can we do to help and serve? So it is a much bigger world. So my end game is to be able to leave a legacy so that my daughters and my grandchildren have a little help and guidance in terms of what their needs. I'm not looking at trust fund babies, but just being able to help and guide people. And so just want to live comfortably and be able to travel. And as I said, create those family memories, and building that legacy is really important to me.
And where can people find you, Cheryl?
Pardon me?
Where can people find you?
Oh, that's at Cheryl Cobbin.com. So that's my website. So that's CHERYLCOBBIN.com. And that is a website where I have information about me and information about the different services that I do to help business owners. One of the things that I think has helped guide me in my path, I have a very supportive spouse. We've been married for a number of years, and just like businesses in life, marriage can have challenges too, but being able to work through them and having the faith and realizing that God is there to help us overcome some of those, or work with and deal with and help overcome some of those challenges. As I mentioned, two beautiful children. As a matter of fact, one of my daughters, because of her servitude, she ended up, after she graduated from college, going into the Peace Corps for 2.5 years. And she served people over in Africa. And so that's an example. Both of my daughters, as they were growing up, I got them involved in a mother-daughter organization that taught them the importance of serving different people, whether it was at a soup kitchen, whether it was helping seniors, whether it was helping with an after-school program, cheering on Special Olympics. There was a variety of different things that we did because I wanted them to realize that we live in a bubble and there's a much bigger world out there and there's a huge need, and realizing that we can always be giving more, whether it's of our time or whether it's monetarily, to be able to help people.
So, do you have a favorite scripture or quote?
Oh, I do. One of the, and I kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier, but it was Philippians 4.13, and it's, I can do everything through him who gives me strength. And I think even more so in these days, just knowing that we've got a go-to when we've got some challenges allows us to be able to overcome. And even if it's a small challenge or what we think is a small problem or issue, just personally, financially, business-wise, I think, knowing that God is there for us. And I honestly don't know how some people deal with or cope with life when they don't have him and his guidance.
That is so true. I don't know how, I wouldn't want to know. I don't want to know. It's too hard to do without. So is there anything else? Do you have a favorite quote besides, I know I got the scripture for, but do you have a favorite quote, like one of those quotes like Tony Robbins or anything like that?
You know what? I love Jim Rohn. Anything Jim Rohn. There's some really great mentors that have been out there. I'd say one thing to keep in mind, I call it ABL, always be learning. There's never stop reading. I think a lot of people stop reading when they leave school. Like, yay, I'm done. But I listen to podcasts. I listen to audibles when I don't have time to read a book, but I'm always reading a book, one book at least every single month. And it's helping me grow as a better person, so I can be a better mother, spouse, leader, mentor, friend. And because the world is changing, and I always try to focus on what I can control, not what's happening necessarily around me.
What's the last business book you read?
30 Days and 30 Ways in 30 Days.
Okay.
And it's by a personal friend of mine. And it was a really good spiritual way to start each day, to kind of take a look at, okay. And I always try to start my day the right way. I get up and, as I mentioned, I have gratitude. I write a journal. I do some meditation. I pray. I exercise. So I'm setting my mindset right for that day. And I think that helps me serve others better as well.
And just in case you viewers are wondering, I do read as well. The book I'm currently going through for the second time is You Owe You by Eric Thomas.
Mm-hmm. He's another great mentor. Yes.
And I like him. Kind of rough, but
he can be. He's a little spicy, but Tony Robbins is great. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've read that several times. And every time I do, I have a different takeaway.
Another book I read was, this is from my job. I'm a manager at a restaurant, And they had us read a book called not Irresistible. What's the word I'm looking for? Unreasonable Hospitality. Very good book. Very good book.
Interesting.
About a guy who took a mid-level restaurant in New York and made it #1 in the world. And he said usually they focus on how great the plates are and how great the chef is. They did it by unreasonable hospitality. And it's just a good book. One of my favorite reads had all year last year.
That's great. And there's so many good books on that note. And I think it's great because you and I could both read the same book and we come up with different aspects that reached us.
Absolutely. 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 So again, where can people find you again, Cheryl?
CherylCobbin.com is my website.
Any last words you have for the people today?
No, I hope you got something out of my message today. And if you're interested in exploring the opportunities that I presented, whether you're a stay-at-home mom looking for something where you needed more of an identity or you need to pick up a little extra income, honestly, I first thought, oh, this would be a great way to help support my kids' fun activities, whether it's soccer or cheerleading or whatever their interest might be. And it evolved into a full-time career. And yeah, I'm ever grateful for the opportunity that, someone shared with me one day. And you just never know. Again, I like working with mompreneurs. I think it's really important to make sure that you're setting things up right. If I could share a couple quick tips, as a business owner, I think a lot of times we tend to go at it on our own. And while Google might be a good resource, sort of, there's no fact check on what's going out there in terms of what information people are putting there. So it's really important, especially if you're starting a business, to start it right. Use an attorney because you're going to get into agreements. And while a handshake and a wink used to work, it doesn't work so well anymore. And especially when things go south. So just having, as I mentioned, I've got cost-effective way as an option. It's not necessarily fit for everyone, for using an attorney and a CPA, because a CPA can actually help save you money. Do you need to set up a business entity? Don't you? I don't know. That's very individual. But having, again, those ongoing resources to help you deal with life. Because, Chris, I think life has become a lot more complex and complicated, and in every aspect. So definitely setting yourself up properly. But I think I digressed a little bit, but definitely mompreneurs. I love helping, the small business owners. And this year I've decided to focus on helping women own businesses because, we do life just a little differently, and that's okay, because so do the men, and that's okay. And we work together in the same sandbox. So that's okay as well. So I hope, so again, small business owners, just, do you want to have a conversation? Do you want to learn a little bit more? I'm happy to have that conversation, because at the end of the day, I make a new friend.
Yes. That's very good. I'm stealing your make a friend thing. I like that.
No, we don't steal. We copy from a cat.
I'm
That's what I was always taught,
I'm
right?
kidding. No, because I'm also a pastor, we say that to each other a lot of times. I'm stealing your title or your part of your message, and I'm not even going to give you credit for it. It's the joke we have amongst pastors a lot of times. So I appreciate you being on. And for all my folks, please subscribe, and hopefully you got something out of this. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, Chris.